Alright, so we're inside Wondershare's Filmora and we're going to edit and export our podcast. So, easy drag and drop editor. What I've got here is a folder with a couple elements that I'm going to put in this sample podcast. One is a sample musical intro, just really simple. The next is a pre-recorded podcast guest interview. Alright, so I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to drag and drop them right into here. Close this out. You can also click import and import files or even an entire folder of files. I'm going to click off of these to unselect them because I want to just go one at a time here. Now you'll see two tracks already down here. One's video. You don't need that. Just disregard it because we're only working with audio, which is right here. And we're going to create more than one audio track. I'll show you how to do that really easily. So let's select the musical track. We're going to click and drag it right down here. You see you can put it at any spot, but we're going to put it at the beginning because it's going to start our podcast. There's the wavelengths. So you know you've got good audio. You can also test it. Just click play. Okay, stop it. It'll go back to the beginning. All right, so there is our sample intro. Now for this, obviously your sample intro, if you've got a pre-done one, say on Fiverr or one you created yourself, it's probably going to be 10 or 15 seconds long for just the show intro. This one is very long because it's a track, just a musical track. We're going to cut it down later. Don't worry about that. Next thing I want to show you how to do is, let's say you want to do a show intro after your music. Let's say you want to do a monologue for 5, 10, 15 minutes to introduce your guest. You can record a voiceover track right from Filmora, and the cool thing is you don't have to use another program. You just drop it, record it in Filmora, and you drop it. It drops it right down automatically onto your sort of audio timeline. Then you can edit it from there. So you click on the voiceover button. Make sure you have your microphone selected. Again, we recommend that you use an external USB microphone. Make sure it's selected here. This is what mine is called on my computer. You're going to click this red microphone button. You'll get a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you can begin recording. I'll just do a really quick sample for you guys right here. So click it, 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you can go. Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I am Chris Clark, your host and your publisher. And today, really excited about the program. We're going to teach you how to write a winning coaching resume and be joined by a special guest expert on the topic. Click stop. Click OK, boom, drops it right down below. Now it's going to automatically create a separate audio file, and it's going to put it right at the beginning. Now you'll notice two things. One, it starts at the same time, and two, these are not going to be adjusted for audio levels or anything. So if I click play, here's what it sounds like.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I am Chris Clark, your host and your publisher. And today, really excited about the program.
Now, you can structure this however you want. If you want to begin speaking immediately on your podcast, then you can definitely do that. What I would recommend is just immediately adjusting your audio level. You see these horizontal lines? That's how you can do it. You click on it and you drag it down, okay? So then it's going to sound a little bit better. That music's not going to be so loud. It's not going to clash with each other.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I am Chris Clark, your host.
Now, what I want to do, though, is I want my music to play for a few seconds, and then I want my audio, my spoken word to come in. So I'm actually going to click Edit, Undo. See how it brought my levels back up? Anything that you goof up on, you can just go to Undo and try again. There's also some shortcuts for that right here. So here's what I want to do. Again, I want my music to play for a couple of seconds. You click this track and just drag it. And you're going to take it about, let's just say right here. And here's what it sounds like now.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I am Chris Clark, your host.
All right, so what if obviously here, I want the music to be louder at the beginning. I'm going to move this over just a little bit more, get a little bit more music in there. But I need my music to drop off a little bit when I start talking, right? Otherwise, it's going to sort of, still clash with each other. You're not going to be able to hear me as well. The music's going to be too loud. So what I need to do with this track then is to split it, to make two tracks so that I can play around with this section of it. So what I'll do is I'll take this, click on this red sort of scissored line. It'll say click to split, move it over. I'm going to go right here where I start speaking, line it up with the second track. All right, drop it there, and then click it again. And now look what happens. move this back, I have 2 tracks that I can click on, okay? So this one, what I want to do here is I just want to drop the audio level down a little bit, all right? And that'll help hear me. I'm going to go back and let's see what it sounds like now.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I'm Chris Clark, your host and your publisher.
Okay. So you see, I'll stop that. You can also create a fade effect if you wanted to fade down to that level. You can do that. So if you want to do that, click on that first track. You can start fading out at a specific point. Let's do it at 1 second. Click OK. All right, now we can listen to that.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com.
Now with the fade, you got to be careful because you see how it faded pretty low and then it even came back up a little bit. You got to play around with that a little bit with the different levels, the different decibel levels here. All right, I'm actually going to reset that and I'm just going to let it drop off just like it did, okay?
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com.
I don't think that sounds bad. You can do a fade if you want. It just sort of drops off and I begin speaking, all right? So let's say you've got your monologue down here and you want your guest audio to come next. I like to have a little bit of transition. I'm going to leave that music playing in between the 1 or 2 seconds where my monologue, my intro, spoken word sort of introduction of my guest stops and the actual interview begins. So here is the audio. Make sure it's the only one selected. Drag it down and let's put it. Now let's see if I dropped it here. That'd be right there. Let's give it a couple more seconds and put it right there. All right. Now let's hear how the whole thing sounds now.
Hey guys, welcome into the CoachBridge.com podcast. I'm Chris Clark, your host and your publisher. And today, really excited about the program. We're going to teach you how to write a winning coaching resume and be joined by a special guest expert on the topic. All right, Chris Clark here with PalmettoPreps.com and joined for another, we're called.
Okay, so you heard my podcast interview started. That was recorded actually over Zoom or Skype back in the day. It doesn't sound as good, so that's why I recommend getting some uniformity. I didn't have an external microphone at that time, so you see it's a little quieter. It doesn't sound as good. I'm actually going to do the same trick I did earlier. I'm going to bump up this volume a little bit, all right, and that'll get me a louder level so that it's more along an even playing field with my spoken word intro that I had previously. Now, I don't want that music. Some people actually have music playing sort of throughout their podcast. You can do that if you want. I actually don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here to the end. I'm going to be able to get these 2 little arrows. And I want it to drop off about when I start. Whoops. And you see I goofed up there. I actually did some sort of fade effect there. I just want to grab this. And I want to pull it, and I want the music to drop off when my podcast interview begins. Now you'll see if you get it lined up perfectly, it's going to do that. So you see that trimmed it. All right, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit to get right to the end so you can see how the transition sounds now.
The topic. All right, Chris Clark here with PalmettoPreps.com.
All right, you see how the music dropped off? If your audio just stops, it's going to just, boom, it's just going to drop off the table. So what you can do is you can create another fade effect. So I'm going to click on this specific track, okay? Not first track, the second one. I'm going to put a fade out effect. I'm going to put it, let's see where 4.5 seconds puts it. Right there. And you'll see it'll fade off right into my podcast interview. So let's go right here and let's listen again.
Special guest expert on the topic. All right, Chris Clark here.
Stop it. Did you hear how the music faded out? That sounded a lot better than just having it completely drop off the table. All right, now another thing you'll notice is you see this interview audio is going to go for quite a while. It's going to actually go off my screen. You can zoom out and you see it's going to stop in between the 10 and 15 minute mark. So about, I don't know, 11 minutes or so. And then what you can do, let's say that you have a show outro. Okay, I'm going to use this same music file that I used and just pretend it's a separate outro. Just drag it down here, and you can put it right there. I just recommend putting it on that same track right after your audio. If you wanted to put, some music or something in between, again, you can drag and drop all this stuff, and you can continue playing around with it. All right, and then you're going to have basically your entire show put together at that point. Here's a trick that I recommend you do. All right, a lot of times your show is going to be pretty similar overall, right? You're going to have, and I'm going to zoom back in, you're going to have probably a pre-done intro, whether it's music or music and spoken word or spoken word. Then you're going to have sort of the middle, which are the pieces that you're going to need to put in each time. You're going to need to update maybe your monologue. You're going to need to update your guest audio. And then at the end, you're probably going to have an outro. So at least your intro and outro are probably going to be about the same each time. So if you don't want to have to do this entire process every single time, you can go ahead and save a project. I recommend doing that anyway. All right, so you just go to File and Save As, and it's going to save it as a Filmora project. Now, that is not a completed audio file. That just means that if you open Filmora, it's going to give you this layout, okay? So that when you open it again, it'll bring this up. Make sure, now another thing to keep in mind, so keep all your podcast elements in the same folder. If you have your, say, show intro, name it showintro.mp3 or something, because if you move it around on your computer, Filmora is not going to know where it's located when you open your project. So I'm just going to save this as podcast project. Click Save. It's going to save it, and it's going to put it on my desktop or wherever it renders. All right, so that's done. Now, remember, this, for the purposes of this, example, is complete. So when we're ready to export our file, export, and we're going to pick the type of audio file that we want. Now, we don't want a movie, we don't want an MP4. We're going to want an M4A or an MP3, and we use Buzzsprout here at the Coach Bridge. It's what we recommend you use. So we're going to click on MP3 because that's what they prefer. You can click Name, First Podcast, and Save To. I'm going to put this on my desktop. All right. And then you're going to see the file size, the bit rate, how long the entire show is. You're just going to click Export. All right. Then it's going to give you, this is not going to take long at all because it's not a video file. It doesn't take too long. It's going to go right here, and it's going to give you sort of a status bar and tell you that it's creating. Once it's finished creating, it's going to spit out your completed audio file. We've already saved, again, our project for later if we want to go in and make edits. If we discovered we goofed up, we need to tweak a few more things, we can just go back into that project file that we saved earlier. All right, and then it's going to say success, your video has been created, and it will be right on my desktop. So that is how you edit and export your first audio file, and now you're ready to upload it to Buzzsprout and get your first show out there.